Hey everyone, Britt and Chris Carmichael here, bringing you the Elevated Life series where we teach you simple mindset shifts to create radical transformation in your life. And this topic today was brought to you by one of our audience members asking, how do you heal hopelessness? So in today's topic, we're going to teach you 4 questions to ask yourself when you're feeling hopeless, because you have to start doing some exploration, because hopeless is an emotion. And we have to understand what this emotion represents for us in our life. So these 4 questions are going to help you to understand that feeling of hopelessness that you may be having right now.
Yeah, one of the really big things here is to shift from the I am feeling to the I feel feeling. In other words, versus I am hopeless, we're looking to I feel hopeless. Those are different things, right? When you start to define yourself, then it's very tough to change all of you. But when you realize that you cannot be an emotion, that you're something so much greater than that. So when you start to say, I feel something, you can change emotions that you feel. So we're going to really start to explore and get into that today. And that way you'll get into a space where you're like, man, I can really take control of this and move my life where I want it to be.
Yeah, just like Chris said, when you shift this sentence from I am to I feel, you automatically take the power away from the emotion and give it back to yourself, because you recognize that you aren't your emotion. You aren't angry, you aren't depressed, you aren't sad, you aren't happy, you aren't any of these things. They're just a feeling to let you know that something is going on and to pay attention. And hopelessness is one of those feelings that can feel so powerful that we automatically assume that we are that hopelessness, but it's just a sign trying to get you to pay attention. So before we dive into these 4 questions to help you heal that hopelessness, I want to just say hello to everyone who's watching. Say hello in the comments, share where you're watching from. Is this your first time to tune into the Elevated Life? We're so excited that you're here. So the first question that you can ask yourself is, what story am I telling myself? And that story that you're telling yourself most likely entails the phrase, I am. I am depressed. I am lonely. I am not good enough. I am ugly. I am fat. I am blah, 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 whatever it is. The phrase I am is the most powerful phrase that you can put out into the universe, because immediately following that is a statement of declaration. This is what I am. And if you say I am hopeless, then the universe goes, oh, okay, hopeless, here you go. Here's a bunch of opportunities and experiences that are going to confirm that you feel hopeless. And then you get mad and you blame the universe. Why is this happening? Well, because you've been asking for it.
Yeah, so this is such an important part. It's important to grab onto the thoughts and the things that you're saying to yourself. So the question here is, what story am I telling myself, right? Where are you generalizing things? So the first thing to be aware of is the I am. That I am sentence is so powerful. The second thing to be aware of is how are you defining what the possible outcomes can be? And you do this by using generalizations, words like never and always. So if you're in a relationship and that relationship ends, the feeling of the ending of the relationship feels hopeless, and you say, I'll never be in a good relationship. I'll never find someone who loves me. That never, that generalization, you have to be massively, massively aware of saying those kinds of things, because they're not true. It's a generalization, right? And it's a global generalization. So get into a space where you can notice yourself saying these kinds of things and just change your story. Change the story however you want it to be. It's so important that once you recognize what story you're telling yourself and what lies really you're telling yourself, because that's what stories are. Stories are lies. It's fine. Change the story up. Make it something a little more beautiful.
So I want to take a moment to tune into your inner dialogue. What is that story that you've been telling yourself? Or what is that phrase that you've been on repeat lately? Whether it be a positive phrase like, man, I am freaking crushing it this week. Or maybe it's something more hopeless like, man, am I ever going to get a good job? Or am I ever going to find that love of my life? What is that story, that phrase that's been on repeat for you in the last week or so? Let's just take a moment to create awareness around the present moment. Let's talk about that internal dialogue that's happening. And guys, here on the Elevated Life, we don't just zhuzh you. We don't just fluff you up. We make you create awareness and intention in your life so that you have the consciousness to be able to look inside and say, hey, this is what's going on. I'm no longer hiding in fear. I'm no longer pretending that this isn't my responsibility. We're here to help empower you so that you can look inside and create that truth and awareness. Anne says, I can't, period. Dot. Yeah, I can't is really sad, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like, you automatically cut yourself off from the possibility of it being possible by saying it won't happen. I can't do it.
Yeah, so it's important here to realize that the big key here on this question is to realize that your thoughts create your reality. And if you've never come to that realization before, here it is today. So remember that whatever you're thinking is what typically is going to happen to you.
And it's also going to cause the emotions to start arising, because what you think, you start to feel, and what you start to feel, you start to believe, and you start to take those actions. So this is why we talk about radical mindset shifts. We got to start shifting it up here before we see the change in our external reality. Erica says, I'm never doing enough.
No.
All right.
The entrepreneur's curse. Yeah.
Laura says, I'm tired, and today it is like, is my thesis supervisor ever going to tell me that I'm doing something right? You know what? It's funny you say that. I just had a teacher reach out. She watched my Woo Wednesday, hasn't seen me since my junior year in high school or something like that. And she reached out and she was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so proud of you. And that was the first moment I ever had a teacher say anything of the sort, because I'm normally getting in trouble and talking shit and being a smart ass. So it was like one of those moments like, oh, well, that was weird. So what I would like to say to you is you may wait 30 years before you ever hear that you're doing something right from someone else's perspective. Don't wait on someone else to bring you that feeling of worthiness.
Yeah, the second part that
Damn.
yes, is brutal. The second part that the second question is, what can I control? So after you've identified the story and said, ooh, I'm repeating this to myself, it's not working that well. Now it's what can I control? And the big thing that we can control in most situations is what we focus on. So remember, what you focus on expands. Your thoughts are creating your reality. So if you focus on better thoughts, you get a better reality. And you focus on more negative thoughts, you continuously spiral downward. Your mind is just trying to give you what you're thinking about. And so it's important to constantly get into a space where you realize, holy shit, I'm responsible here. This is something that I can take control over by figuring out what exactly it is that I want to focus all of my attention on.
Hey, Danielle. Oh, thank you so much, guys. Thanks for all the love. And if you're watching, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about 4 questions that you can ask yourself when you're feeling hopeless. And the first one was, what story am I telling myself? We have to tune in and make sure we're not giving our power away to these emotions like hopelessness or depression or anger or things like that. Second question is, what can I control? And then the third question that you can ask yourself is, what advice would I give to a friend who's currently going through the same situation? Because it's so much easier to look into someone else's life from our perspective and say, oh, well, duh, stop smoking cigarettes or stop eating like crap. Like, it's so easy for us. So let's just pretend that you were one of those friends in your life and you were giving advice and saying, hey, you know what? I see that you're going through this right now. I see that you're feeling this way. Maybe you could try to approach it from this angle. What advice would you give to a friend? And you might surprise yourself that you already have the answer to help you heal your hopelessness inside if you just take a moment to look.
Yeah, this is so important. This is all about positioning and where you are in your perspective. And the second that you shift perspectives, or the second that you shift positions in the conversation where you get to be the other person and give advice, suddenly the problem's different. So a lot of times what we are is we're really zoomed in on a situation. It's almost like we have a magnifying glass to one bad thing that's going on in our life. And really the funny part about bad things is that when I look back on my life and I think about the bad things, the parts of my life where I did feel hopeless, and I know we've all gone through this. I know Britt's gone through this. I've definitely gone through this before. Those were actually the best catalyst that I could have ever asked for. It's almost like I was asking for change, and then I felt this huge, just like, oh my God, everything sucks. And then suddenly that forced me to make a decision because I knew I didn't want to feel that way anymore. I was tired of feeling the victim. I was tired of not taking charge of my life. And so those terrible moments that I defined in that as bad, those hopeless moments brought about the greatest changes. It forced me to do things that I wouldn't have done otherwise. It forced me to look at the world in a different way. It forced me to take action on things that I hadn't been doing. Maybe I've been procrastinating on it, or maybe I had been making those generalizations like I'll never be in a good relationship, or I'll never really find what my purpose is, and things like that. And then suddenly it's like, wait, I need to reflect on this and I need to start making some changes. So when you switch those positions and you give your friend the advice that you really need, you start to go, oh, I've just been looking at this wrong. This is different. I can take control of this in my life.
Yeah, hopelessness, depression, sadness, all of this stuff is a call from your soul for change. And so if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling like you've hit rock bottom, if you're feeling hopeless or you're feeling depressed, it's because you're repressing those thoughts and those feelings and those the calling from your soul. So pay attention to what your soul has been asking for and know that this isn't it. They say like life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. So if you're in a place where you feel like, what the heck is happening? Then it's because you've gotten yourself so deep in your mind that you can't even see that you are wanting to make a change. So the universe comes in and says, hey,
time to make that change.
You've been asking for change, so I'm going to help you. And then the important thing is not to resist or to fight or to, like what is happening? Ask yourself this final fourth question. This will help you whether you feel hopeless or any emotion, no matter what emotion that you feel. This question has gotten me through the toughest of times. This question got me through the darkest days of those dark nights of the soul. It got me through when my mom had a massive stroke, when I thought, F the world, like this is BS, like this shouldn't be happening. This question right here changed the game for me. So I hope that it helps to shift your perspective to a more positive and elevated mindset so that you can start rising above and lifting your vibration so that you're not stuck in the depths of despair and depression. And that last question is, what good can come from this? If you ever find yourself in a shitty situation, the first question I want you to default to is what good can come from this? And automatically you put yourself back in power, you lift your vibration, you have a higher perspective that you're looking from, and you're searching for the silver lining. And when you find the silver lining, because every opportunity, every experience, every shitty thing has a silver lining. But if we're too busy and too accustomed to focus on the negative so quickly, then we miss that lesson that life is trying to teach us.
Yeah, this question is definitely one of the most powerful questions I've ever seen because it really can pull people out of such depressing moments, such just deep distraught, and asking that what good can come from this. See, that's the point with all these questions. That's why we're approaching this topic in a different way. I'm only just giving kind of tips and stuff like that. This is about what can we ask ourselves so we can tune our mind to a place where it wants to find answers for us. The goal is for you not to find the answer. What the goal is for you to do is ask the questions and be silent enough to listen for the opportunities. So on this one, what good can come from this primes the mind. It doesn't say, who do I need to blame in this situation? Who screwed this up for me? Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me is one of the worst questions you can ask yourself. It's totally irrelevant.
And
it doesn't matter.
And it's victim mentality based in fear and having no power, no responsibility and control.
Yeah, so being in that victim mentality means that you will not get your answer. You've taken all of the power that you have in your life and just totally dumped it out and said, I want to stay here. That's what the why is this happening to me? That what good can come from this puts you in the victor mentality. It says, listen, I'm going to figure this out. I've got this. I've been in bad situations before, and guess what? I scraped my ass off the ground then, and I can definitely do it again now. I mean, think about it. You have survived things that sucked. I mean, we all have. We've been through stuff where it's just like, holy smokes, why is this what's going on here? But you've made it, and you can make it again, and you can make it again. And that's what life is. Life is a bunch of change. It's nonstop changing. Nothing is the same as it was yesterday. Nothing will be the same tomorrow. And as we get into a place where we accept change and we get used to that and we start asking questions of what good can come from this, so much will change because you're automatically back in control of your life. Despite the fact that we can't control exactly what happens, we can control how we feel about it. And we do that by asking the correct questions at the times where we need them.
I know. I always like to point out to people who identify themselves as control freaks, I like to point out that you're trying to control the wrong thing. You're trying to control the outcome of the situation, and you're going to suffer the rest of your life. If you learn to control how you respond, not react, how you respond to the situation, that's when you are in control. That's when you have your power. That's when you feel that sense of freedom. So I want to ask you guys this. Just like I said, here in the Elevated Life, we don't fluff you up. We help you get to the truth because it's in the truth will set you free. I mean, there's power behind that. There's truth behind that. And what my mom calls it is a true. So we're just trying to help you find your true. So what is that situation in your life? What is that emotion that's been presenting itself lately that you can ask that question? What good can come from this? Maybe you're in a relationship with a friend or a partner. Maybe you're in a job that doesn't feel in alignment anymore. Whatever it is. Maybe you have an emotion that's been overwhelming you, anxiety anxiety or whatever, hopelessness. This is something that you guys asked us to cover. So that's exactly why we're covering it here on The Elevated Life. But what is that thing that's been looming? Do you see how the lights keep flashing in here? Man, this is crazy. It's like looming over you. What is that situation in your life right now where you can say, what good can come from this? Take a moment. We'll sit here with you. Take a moment to ponder, to notice what comes up for you. What's that first situation, that first feeling that comes up when I say, hey, what's that thing in your life that you're trying to find the silver lining? What good can come from that situation in your life? Take a moment to think about that, to feel it, to honor how you feel. I think that's a really important thing that we didn't talk about today is when you have an emotion like depression or anger or hopelessness or whatever, take a moment to feel it, to say, hey, what are you trying to show me? What are you trying to present in my life? What do I need to pay attention to? Yeah,
often, a lot of us want just total happiness all the time. And happiness too is just another emotion. It's not something that's real. We're creating it. We're the generators of the happiness. But we run so much from pain. And we run so much from suffering. What we do is we take drugs, we watch TV, we drink alcohol, and we come to a place where we just mask and push everything down. And then we think that we'll be these evolved, whole humans that love and we're about peace. But the whole change that we needed, we pushed away from us. The pain and the suffering is the real guru. That's where we change. When you're happy, you're not thinking, oh, well, what other stuff can I do in my life? You're just like, well, I'm happy. I don't need to do anything. And the second that you start to suffer, the second the stuff starts to look bleak, that's the opportunity. The best thing when you're feeling crappy is to realize that this is my opportunity for change. I'm here right now and I can do this. And the second that you switch to that, and the second that you start asking what good can come from this, the changes start immediately happening.
Yeah.
And again,
just ask the question and things begin to shift. That's all you have to do. You think you have to know the next step or this, or you have to, no, you don't. You just have to ask the question. And like Chris said, create that space. Stop trying to think your way through it. Just create space by getting quiet. Maybe practice some meditation where you're clearing your mind so that new ideas, feelings, and perceptions can make their way into your life because it's already there present. But you're just not allowing that wisdom to arise because you're too busy thinking and worrying and stressing. So just take a moment to breathe, to calm down, to relax, and to honor your heart space and to honor how you feel. And if you're interested in learning how to meditate, that's exactly what we're covering in next month's training inside the Elevated Life Membership Club. So Friday for the Elevated Life series, then you guys will love hanging out with us inside the membership club where we support you 1000%. It's like having two personal coaches behind you, cheering you on, saying, I believe in you, you can do this. So if meditation is something you're interested in learning, you can sign up for our monthly membership club and tune into that live training next month by going to brittanycarmichael.com/membership. And you'll also access all of our past content and training from success to spirituality to sexuality to how to trust your intuition or what's that word? Transition. Overcome fear, transition to a plant-based lifestyle. We cover it all inside the Elevated Life.
The big deal that Britt mentioned here is about meditation, and I want to take a real quick moment here, is that you don't meditate to get away from things. Again, getting away from the pain is not what you want to be doing, and masking the pain is not what you want to be doing. Meditation is a space to allow yourself to feel the pain and to move beyond it. It's different. You don't go into meditate being like, oh, if I just meditate, I'll get away from this and then everything will be okay. That's meditating for a reason, and that's not meditation. That's something that your mind's doing. It's a vain attempt to use another mask to push it away. In meditation, you just sit. There's nothing else. There's no other things that need to be done.
When people say, I need to meditate on it, I just keep it to myself. I'm like, you're doing it wrong, because that's not what meditating is.
Yeah, it's a space where you can sit and realize that you're not your thoughts, you're not your body, you're the watcher of all of those things. And when you get into a space where you can be the watcher, emotions don't affect you as much. It's just not as big of a deal. You're like, I notice that I'm feeling that right now, but I also know that emotions are more like waves. And what we often do is confuse waves for the whole ocean. And remember, if you've ever sat on a beach before and you've watched the waves come in, they break, they go back away, they come in, they break, they go back away. The important thing is that emotions and all that kind of stuff don't last. They don't. So don't confuse the wave for the ocean. Let the next wave come up.
Woo! Woo!
Nailed it.
Anyone get a knowledge bomb on that one? Beautiful. So let's recap. And thank you so much for tuning in every Friday for the Elevated Life series. We covered today 4 questions to ask yourself when you're feeling hopeless, or insert any emotion, because it's about getting to the truth of what is underlying that emotion. Why is that emotion coming up to get you to pay attention to something? And those 4 questions are: 1, what story am I telling myself?
The second one is, what can I control?
Yep. The third one is, what advice would I give to a friend who's going through this situation?
And the fourth one, which is so powerful, is, what good can come from this? So good.
Oh, I know. Erica says, on fire today, you guys. I love it. Danielle says, the ebb and flow of life.
Yeah. So, someone asked earlier, how do you deal with heartbreak? And a lot of times, heartbreak is one of those things that can bring us to this hopelessness space. And the big thing is, if you're experiencing heartbreak, the way to overcome that is to love the hell out of yourself. Mm-hmm. All that love that you were needing and saying, hey, I have to get someone else to love me, then they'll tell me I'm lovable. That will be the confirmation. It's nonsense. The big deal is that you're already lovable. And the second that you realize that, and the second that you start giving that love that you need from somebody else, instead of needing it from them, you start giving it to yourself, heartbreak doesn't happen anymore. Yeah. What you do is you allow people to come into your life, and you allow people to go from your life.
Just like a wave.
And that's totally okay to do. Mm-hmm. People will come in, you can experience wonderful, amazing things with them, and you can also let them be free. People aren't meant to be trapped. Love relationships aren't a trap. You don't need to keep a person caged.
Or possession, yeah.
Yeah, it's not owning the other person. Love should set you free. Love shouldn't be one of those things that confine and bind you. So the important thing here is to remember that if you need love, give it to yourself.
Buy yourself your own damn flowers. Take yourself on a date. Like, get sexy for yourself. Touch yourself. Whatever you need to do to give yourself love. Stop waiting for the world to give it to you. Stop waiting for the world to change, according to John Mayer. And just be, like Gandhi says, be the change. If you need more love, give it to yourself. Stop going around to everyone else saying, can you fill my cup? Because no one wants to do that. They want to give love to someone who's already giving it to themselves. They're like, oh, they know how to handle it. They know how to accept it. Because if you don't know how to love yourself, and if you don't know how to give love to yourself, you're going to go around looking for everyone else to do it for you, but you still don't know how to accept it. You still don't know how to let it in. So even if you do find that person that's willing to love you, you won't even know how to allow it because you haven't done it for yourself. And if you say right now, well, I don't know how to love myself, then now's a really good place to start and take a moment to get quiet and say, like, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much love do I show myself every day? And start there. Start with daily action. Are you taking care of yourself? Are you nurturing yourself? Are you telling yourself nice things?
Yeah, before we hop off here, let's run through a quick exercise. It's only going to take a second. So everyone who's still here with us, let's do this. If you haven't given yourself love in a while, just take your arms out, wrap them around your body, and just close your eyes just for a second and just say, you know what? I love you. I totally love you. And I forgive you for all the things that, didn't work out. I forgive you for all the weird misconceptions, for all the problems, the stupid thought patterns and all that stuff. I love you. And I love you so much. And I will always love you. Just notice how you feel.
Yes, and
notice
we love
you.
you.
Yeah, we love you guys. Group hug again.
Join the love.
Group hug.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Elevated Life series, where we teach you these simple mindset shifts that create radical transformation in your life. These aren't just words. These are actual actions that we take. When we shift our mindset, things on the outside begin to change. Erica says, I fall asleep hugging myself.
There you go.
I love it.
It's beautiful.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you love this message, please tag a friend or share it on your page. We love spreading the good vibes and the good karma. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you love this message and you want to hear more from us, then 1, come hang out with us inside our monthly membership club. And 2, if you have a topic that you'd like us to cover, leave it in the comments below because we love answering your questions.
Yeah, I love it, guys.
Yeah, so thank you so much. I can't remember the name on who posted the hopelessness question, but I am so thankful that you brought this topic up because it sounds like so many of you needed this message today, because I've seen so many of you comment saying, this has been so perfect. I needed this message. So good. Learn to let it in. I got good chills and goosebumps.
There you go.
You guys are awesome. Thank you
beautiful.
So much for tuning in. We love teaching you and inspiring you and empowering you to elevate your life to that next level, because that's the thing, guys. Life is always moving up and on. And if you're not on the train with life, then you're going to feel these feelings of depression and hopelessness and suffering. And we want to help you choose to reclaim your power and move forward with life.
Boom.
Anne says, happy Friday. Have a great weekend, guys. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Elevated Life series.
Bye, guys.
Bye.